This is James Arnold Taylor, voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Hello, listeners. We hope you've been enjoying yourselves. I was going to say enjoy that, but Ross probably cut it. So anyway.
Yeah. We don't.
The outro.
You will enjoy it in the outro.
Some of it, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
But here's an episode for you to enjoy.
It is. It is an episode.
This is going to be even better than all the stuff we just said that you didn't hear, but that you might hear later.
Uh-huh. For sure. I'm Kyler.
I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
And this episode is for you, Lindsay. It is.
Yeah, that is the title we're going with?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
Yep. We are dedicating this episode to Ross's sister, Lindsay, for one simple reason. She will not stop hounding me about this episode.
I don't think that's
Pretty
true.
sure, that's not accurate.
I
think she mentioned it once or twice, like 6 months ago.
No. Okay. I'm going to tell the true story, and then Ross can lie to you all with facts. So, when we started this podcast, just over a year ago, we got the first batch of episodes out, and Ross's sister, Lindsay, downloaded them and binged them in the most hardcore way because it was like 2 days later, and she's like, I finished all the episodes. When are you guys releasing another one? This was awesome. Keep doing it. And I was like, wow, okay. So she's still related to us, so
Thanks,
your enthusiasm
Lindsay.
doesn't fully count, you know.
But it's appreciated.
But it's appreciated, right?
But still very appreciated.
And, you know, even in those early episodes, we were begging you all for content ideas. And so she came up with one. She's like, oh, you guys should talk about, like, the Force visions and, like, the meanings behind Force visions. And I'm like, that's a fantastic idea. Let's put it on our list of things to talk about. And then other things came out and, like,
we haven't
little
touched
things.
that.
And it was, like, every couple of weeks for many months, she'd be like, so, like, when are you going to do that episode, Kyler? When are you... And so for a year now, I've been referencing it like, we're getting to it, Lindsay, we're getting to it. Well, we're here. We got to it. It arrived. And it's, although Ross is correct, it has been a couple of months since her last berating of me on Facebook or in person.
She must be sending stuff to you directly that I don't see, because I only remember her mentioning it to you twice.
No, it was a while. It was a lot. And then, like I came over to your house one time, and, like, she was there, and she was like, when are you going to do that episode? I'm like, I'm sorry. But anyway, we're here now. No more apologizing.
We finally made it. With all the promptness of Imperial reinforcements arriving at Scarif.
Exactly.
Just the jab. The jab in there.
It's just the only one I could think of. And I was like, there's an instance of people arriving too late in Star Wars, right? And it's like, that's the only one I could think of.
Yeah, Han and Luke at Alderaan.
There we go. That would have been much better.
Oh.
I am, alas, merely adequate.
Anyway, so we're here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about
arguably,
Force
they
visions.
arrived at just the right time, because if they had arrived earlier, it would have gone bad for them.
Yes. That would have been a series-ending mistake. Probably.
Or a series continuing really good luck of, stroke of luck there. The Empire could have gone on unimpeded. Their Death Star wouldn't have been destroyed by Luke. We would have had uninterrupted prosperity and security in the galaxy, Ross. That's all I'm saying.
And fear. Rule through abject fear.
And cut back in.
Curse you, Ross.
Unlimited power.
It's true, and it's unfortunate.
So great.
So, Ross, I think you have some stuff to share with us.
I do. I have, in fact, some newsy news. We're back at it, people. Back on our stride.
You are the worst.
So,
Chris, how's that search for a new editing guy, new host going, huh? Did we find anybody
Am I
yet?
in charge of that? I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that was a thing I should be
I thought we were replacing Ross for his numerous offenses with the newsy news.
hey, I'd like to take a nap once in a while.
Yeah, that'd be nice for us, actually. We should find an editor.
Yeah, I know.
You think that's a threat? Alrighty.
Oh, gosh,
So,
I missed you guys.
we have a couple bits of Kathleen Kennedy news. First up is the article that this list is a little bit older, and so I'm kind of dubious as to whether this is really happening or not. But apparently Kathleen Kennedy has strongly hinted at a Knights of the Old Republic story arc in the movies and or medias.
Which I think I've said before on this podcast that I would be interested in seeing some older Republic stuff.
I would be interested in being in the setting. I don't know if I necessarily want a Darth Revan.
Correct, and that's what I mean
those.
by an Old Republic movie or series would be
Yeah.
like, give me that era, not necessarily
Remove
following
me from
the
the
games.
primary era. I'm thrilled. Yes, please
Yeah.
jump around, do whatever you want. I
Yeah.
would love it.
Yeah.
But
So
We could potentially see a young Yoda at that point, because Yoda's 900 when he dies.
it depends on how early they decide to go.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Yoda could be around. We could see a Padawan Yoda.
But then we'd have an explanation for Yoda, and everyone would hate it, including you.
Not necessarily. I mean, if he's not like a main character, but
Yeah.
it's just like,
just a little
here's
Easter
this new
egg.
Padawan. Here he is. There's
Little
Yoda.
green-eared guy in the
Yeah,
background.
Depends
like,
on
that would be-
depends on how tastefully they do it.
Because at some point, Yoda had to go through the process. He didn't start out as Grandmaster, so
For sure.
He's Yoda, of course he did. What are you talking about?
he sprang into existence ex nihilo as Grandmaster of the Jedi Council.
Just
I
one
love
day
it.
he was sitting in a chair, and Mace Windu was
He
like,
burst straight
sure.
from the Force. Like you thought Anakin was born of the Force. No, Yoda just burst into existence, fully formed.
So I feel like we had kind of vaguely talked about this, or maybe I just read about it back when it was first announced, because all she really says is that they're looking into it, and that is a time period that they are
Yeah.
particularly looking at, which makes sense because of how popular the games were. But so I mean, it makes sense. I'm sure we'll see it, but
It does make sense, especially because we have done just about everything there is to do in the 60 years between
Yeah.
Episode 1 and Episode 9. Like, there's not a lot of room left to depict much of anything.
There's always more room. We can scrape that butter over as much bread as we want, man.
it's also a big galaxy.
It is true, like, that's true.
Yeah.
But
But I do feel like it's an inevitable choice eventually, for the same reason that it happened in the first place, that they made those games in that setting in the first place, is just people going, wow, we're exhausted with all this continuity. Can we just jump somewhere and somewhere else? And yeah, it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. So cool. Next bit of Kathleen Kennedy news is
News.
rumor? And one more thing on
Rumory
that.
rumor.
This is my theory. This is my fan theory, which confirms what will happen.
Yes.
Anyway, I think the Old Republic trilogy probably is happening, and I really do think that's what the Benioff and Weiss are going to do.
Could be.
It would make sense.
I think, that's my official prediction for that.
Cool. Noted.
I will
Everybody
jump on that.
wait eagerly to find out whether or not Kyler was wrong.
Yep. Probably.
That seems
know.
plausible to me.
So next is our rumor news rumor
Rumor.
that Kathleen Kennedy may or may not be leaving in 2021. So we have
May or may not. That covers it all. Yep.
Yep.
I think that is actually 100% accurate. She may or may not be leaving in 2021.
so it's recently with the hiring of Kevin Feige and with
Kevin.
with Kathleen Kennedy's contract
best
coming
nickname
up
ever.
in 2021. People are thinking, well, maybe that's why they're hiring Feige, is to put him in her spot. That is the major rumor, but as we were talking before the podcast, Chris brought up that Feige also just got promoted over at Marvel.
Yeah,
so that's
like,
going to make
he's
things a
now
little
officially
tough.
like he's
the
Kathleen Kennedy
but
of
for
Marvel
Marvel.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really doubt they're gonna give him both ships here.
Yeah.
Can't captain two ships.
The argument in favor of this idea is that her contract is up, like Ross said. By the time her contract is up, all like the major Star Wars projects will be done, like the movies and stuff, and that she's been at it for a while anyway, and so a lot of times they'll bow out after about this time. So it's like
It is not an implausible, but it's like
Right.
but also the foundation for this speculation is, well, her contract's up, so it could happen then.
Yeah.
And probably whoever started this rumor also really wants it to happen, so therefore it probably
that
will,
was
everyone.
The gist of many comments was like, oh good, she's ruining Disney, get her out of here, can't wait. So it's like there's enough evidence to say that it could go, but it's also equally plausible that it
and
she'll
then
just
we'll get
renew her
someone new in
contract,
there. And it's like, even if she does, and we get someone new in there, and then all we're going to discover is that, yeah, all these fans are exactly as fickle as we've all been saying, and that it wasn't Kathleen Kennedy in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because she's been buddies with George and Steven Spielberg for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize until I saw a a thing on Reddit. I think it was this week even.
I saw that going around.
Yeah, where there's pictures of her like on set of Jurassic Park, and like there were a couple others. That was
it was
been
basically
around
a
a while.
post that someone was saying is just like in response to someone being like, "Oh, Kathleen Kennedy's just so desperate to hold on to Star Wars, blah 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 blah, to save her career," and it was basically someone being like, "Excuse me, Star Wars needs Kathleen Kennedy more than Kathleen Kennedy needs Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy has a successful career.
Well,
That's why
and
she is head of Lucasfilm."
Not to mention that when Lucas, so I watched the interview, like the announcement interview that Lucas and Kennedy did when they actually came out and officially announced, yeah, we're selling Star Wars. Lucas said specifically, "I've known Kathleen for years. We're good friends. I trust her judgment. There's nobody that I would rather entrust with Star Wars than Kathleen. And since she now got like this big promotion at Disney or whatever, this seems like a good time to sell and make sure that she gets it and is in charge of it."
Yeah.
Like, Lucas himself was like, "No,
This is my chosen heir.
pretty much chosen heir as far as producing goes.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say Filoni is more of his creative heir.
Oh, that was another bit of news that you
Sure.
just reminded me of. Speaking of Dave Filoni and knowing George and all of that, did you see the Freddie Prinze Jr. video that went around?
I saw the one that got posted in our Facebook group responding to Freddie Prinze's video. I did not see the Freddie Prinze one itself.
I did not know there was one responding to Freddie Prinze.
Yeah, well, it was basically agreeing with him in softer tone.
Fewer F words.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
But
Freddie
this
Prinze
is
Jr.,
definitely news, yes.
who was the voice of Kanan Jarrus in Rebels, was on a radio show, a podcast, something. I don't know what it was for. Didn't recognize the other person. And they're talking about the Force and Star Wars and stuff. And Freddie is in the middle of this rant, just talking about how he's complaining about the backlash that everything gets and how everyone is so sure they know what should happen and they know all this stuff. But Freddie's talking about how, well, he's George taught Dave Filoni, who has now turned and taught Freddie. Oh, there's so many names. Anyway, and how the balance of the Force is a major driving factor throughout the entire series. It's not just something that you kind of talk about here and there. It's actually dictating who's winning, who's losing, and all of this stuff. Now, I didn't actually have time to really go through and think about it and like chart out what he was saying, but it was interesting. Freddie, it was a fun rant. If you're okay with a lot of cursing,
If you're not okay with
watch
that, you can go to our Facebook group and scroll up a few weeks, and you'll find it's a SoundCloud. I think what not SoundCloud. I don't remember what the channel is, but it's a YouTube video titled "Why We Can't Have Grey Jedi" or something like that. And
is it that one?
yeah,
Oh,
so I just watched that last night, and yeah, it's pretty solid. I've watched a couple of that guy's videos, and I'm like 50-50 about whether or not I agree with him, but yeah. Like, even when I don't agree with him, I'm like, at least I can see your logic in getting here. But he had this big long video about how to do a proper, like how to subvert expectations properly, and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be someone ragging on The Last Jedi as usual. And then I was watching the video, and I was like, oh, probably this is like everything he's outlining here about how to subvert expectations is exactly what The Last Jedi did, so probably he's going to agree with it. And then he got to the end and was like, see, and that's why The Last Jedi didn't work. And I was like, excuse me? What? Did you hear what you just... Okay. We'll talk about this in the Last Jedi episode that we've got coming up, but I encountered that sort of thing a lot where people are just like, yeah, this is why Last Jedi doesn't work. And I'm like, except it literally does everything you just said a movie should do. Like, literally. Here, let me outline it for you. So,
save it for our next Last Jedi episode.
yeah,
Chris.
sorry, you can cut that.
Our next to Last Jedi episode. Oh, that's the title.
Anyway, and finally, we have...
Ross would hurry up and get through the news.
We got a whole, like, phone set down on the table. What? Look. Yeah. That was great. All right.
Anyway.
More news, Ross.
Right. You want me to do the news now?
Yeah. I wasn't the one who interrupted you, Ross.
No. Okay.
Look at him sucking up so that he doesn't get messed with.
I would think that you would want me to get to this one because you'd be so excited for this piece of news, Kyler.
Yeah, I am excited.
Yeah. So, in an interview with, I think it was MTV on the red carpet or somebody... Anyway,
find out.
At a red carpet event, Rian Johnson, for his movie Knives Out, I believe, was being interviewed by, I thought it was MTV, but it could be someone else now that I think about it.
Bang Showbiz.
Yes.
That's apparently what it is. I've never heard of that, but whatever.
They asked him if he would like to return to the Star Wars universe, which is a really weird question because
It is awkwardly worded.
Well, and it's been so prolific that he was doing another set of movies that how
It's
how
like
did you miss
redundant
this?
almost, yeah.
But it's interesting that they did ask that question because Ryan's response, instead of
Can
a
I read it?
definitive yes, was go ahead, Kyler.
Quote, "We'll see. I am still talking to Lucasfilm and they are figuring out what they are doing. We'll see what happens. I'll be thrilled if it happens. I am working on my own stuff too." End quote.
Yeah. So, for those that are trying to keep track, that means this statement is more recent than the last statement we talked about where he definitively said, yes, it's still happening.
Yeah, I'm still
through
making
a tweet. Yeah.
It's just a matter of them telling me when.
So,
That's basically it.
So interesting that things are kind of backing down. I have a theory that this might be due to Disney kind of stopping and evaluating what they've been doing.
Yeah, even this article speculates on that.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard it in a couple other places as well. So, yes, it's not my theory. Thanks, Chris.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, it's not. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying, this looks logical. So you got the backing of majority here.
Great. So there's going to be a large gap in Star Wars movie content after The Rise of Skywalker. We do have the Disney Plus series to hold us over, and so that's part of the theory is that maybe they're doing that on purpose to push people towards.
They just
Disney
released today, as of the recording of this episode, they released the full schedule for season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Yes, they did.
So it will end. It will air on a Wednesday or something is the premiere, and then that Friday. So we get one that's just a couple days after the other, and then it's every Friday to the end of the year, and then season 1 is done.
Yeah.
A little bit sad, but the bright side is you can then rewatch it again and again.
True.
Until the next season comes out.
Yep.
Which is
hopefully we want to.
Yes.
Yeah. So with Disney kind of pushing Disney Plus and pushing off Star Wars movies, and there are future Disney Plus series on the docket, it sounds like maybe they are shuffling and figuring out what they're doing.
And
it
also
may even just be that they're pushing him farther down the line.
Yeah, Bob Iger, and that could be that actually. Bob Iger told the New York Times, "I just think we might have put a little too much in the marketplace too fast." Mm-hmm. So yeah, we may still see it, but we may not. It may just be pushed
Bob
off.
Iger says after announcing the 300th Marvel show that will be
for
airing
real, right? I'm so tired of Marvel.
I've loved most everything Marvel's put out, and I'm so tired of Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, obviously there's plenty of people that aren't, and I'm pretty sure that's their, diverting slightly into Marvel news here, but just I'm pretty sure that's their goal at this point is yep, we're hitting fatigue points, so now we're just going to produce a glut of content for every conceivable corner of the market in hopes that everyone, even the people who are tired of it, will see something that makes them go, ooh, wait, but I do want to see that. Mm-hmm. Which in my case would be Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and the What If show that they've got planned, which I'm okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was so not interested in that one.
Oh, I love Elseworlds type of comics have always been some of my favorites from both DC and Marvel. So,
well, there we go.
So when I heard they were making a TV series out of that they're bringing back basically every cast member that they ever had in any of the movies at some point or another, I'm wow, that is an endeavor, and I'm intrigued. We'll see, but anyway.
Yeah.
Back to Star Wars.
Yep. And that's the newsy news.
There we go. Oh. Okay. Sorry. I didn't realize I had another tab on it. I'm did I have something else open that I was going to talk about? Oh, no, it was just our podcast page. Never mind. So, back to you, Lindsay.
I don't think Lindsay's here.
We're getting back to Lindsay's chosen topic.
Oh, okay.
So, Force Visions. We are going to wax philosophical today on the show.
Yes. So, in the movies, there are generally two types of Force Visions.
Correct.
That we are shown and or not shown but told about.
Yep.
And those are the simply prescient, which give us information about the future and or the past and or the present, but are just giving us information. If it's about the future, it may or may not come to pass. But it's
Always
basically
in
just
motion the future is.
Yes, exactly. But here's an information download. And then the second are the more esoteric, metaphorical, vague, what I call the dark side force visions, because the two that we get in the movies both take place at nexi of dark power.
Yeah. So to quickly go through the boring visions, right? We have Anakin seeing like a vision of his
have a
mom.
list.
Oh, you've got a list? Oh, fantastic. Chris.
And are we doing just movies, or are we doing like Clone Wars?
I
as
was
well?
We can get
planning
into
on
Clone
talking
Wars
about
and
the
stuff,
Clone Wars.
yeah.
There's a lot more in there. There are just a couple of the more metaphysical ones that I wanted to talk about.
I am merely best equipped to get into the movie ones because I haven't gotten...
Right.
I don't think I've seen any Force Visions in Clone Wars yet, so... And there are... I do know that, like, Ezra has some Force Visions and stuff, and... Yeah. So, in the purely prescient category, we have that most of these, with the exception of Anakin's, aren't shown. We have Anakin sees his mother die.
Yep.
Yoda sees, it's vague, or hears, or something, Anakin killing sand people, and hears Qui-Gon's voice. It's vague.
Anakin, no.
Yeah, it's vague how much of that Yoda was actually Yoda seeing information. I kind of feel like if he saw Anakin slaughtering an entire group of people,
He might have some
there
things
might
to
have been
say
some
when he gets
there
back.
might have been some consequences. So probably he didn't
Hey,
actually.
listen, Anakin,
see
step
what
into
was
my
happening.
office for a minute, okay?
It was, yeah, it was all vague and clouded, but Yoda got something out of that, obviously. Anakin sees Padme die. That was the next vision that Anakin had, and we saw both that and Shmi dying. Then we get in the original trilogy, Luke sees his friends tortured.
Yep.
And we have that Palpatine sees that Luke can destroy him. And Vader tells us that Palpatine has foreseen that. Palpatine sees that Luke will seek out Vader to try and redeem him. And then in the flashback in The Last Jedi, we see that we hear the echoes of Luke sees what Ben will become / do.
There's also one of the Emperor references of him seeing Luke turn to the dark side.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, I missed that.
So yeah,
This was-
the
yeah, just me
Emperor
off the
sort
top
of
of my head.
sees the two forks in the road. That look, you're going to come here to Endor. You're going to talk with your dad. He's going to bring you to me, and then this is going to go one of two ways.
Yeah. He sees that Luke can destroy him, but he also is clearly aware that, no, this could go another way. Although, I don't know if he ever says that I have seen him turning to the dark side. Does he say that? Or is he just
He's talking about this. That's in the throne room of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because Vader talks about that you can destroy him. He has foreseen it earlier on, but the Emperor talks about how you're here.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I remember that now.
And then like
Yeah,
Luke says something and he leans back and goes, "I have foreseen it."
Yes, everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's earlier, but anyway. And then you also have Rey's vision in Force Awakens, which kind of straddles the line between representative / prescient. Like she's getting flashes of scenes that actually happened from all over the place, and it's mostly kind of the transitions between them that are a little odd. But there's not. And
Wait, you mean the one that Force Awakens?
yeah, Rey's vision in Force Awakens.
Okay. Did you say Last Jedi or did I hear that wrong?
I
You
thought
heard
he said
that wrong.
Force Awakens. Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, it's all good. And so that one's primarily that one mostly falls into this category, but there is some argument that some of it kind of edges into the other. But yeah, so Rey's, I would say the Rey's vision there is one of the prescient type.
Yeah. So yeah, those are pretty straightforward, right?
And then hers in The Last Jedi as well.
Last Jedi
Dark
is the
side.
dark side one. This is the metaphorical. So we get the
Oh,
two
oh,
the
oh,
two
I see.
dark side
Right.
metaphorical visions are Luke's vision on Dagobah, where he fights Vader and beheads him and finds his own face, and then Rey's mirror vision of.
Are we counting disturbances in the Force, quote unquote, like when Yoda feels all
I
the
haven't
Jedi
been,
die and then he beheads?
I did think
Rey?
of that, and I was like, no, that's like with Obi-Wan. It's like I've heard as though a million voices cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. Like I feel like that's not so much a vision. Like they never
just
imply
being
that there's
sensitive.
anything. Yeah, but they are
Okay.
clearly like feeling the emotions and the
Okay.
consequences of this.
I will add at least one and maybe more as they come to me of prescient visions. So Yoda in season 6 of the Clone Wars goes to the Force planet
Yeah.
and
I figured
has
this one
a
would come up.
series of visions. One of the first ones that he sees is I think it's one of the first ones. No, it's the second. The first one he fights Nega Yoda, which will come up later in the episode. But he sees basically some episode 3 stuff He sees Jedi being killed. He sees some scenes from the Invisible Hand, Grievous's flagship. So he sees some scenes in there. Shakti getting killed. So that's prescient.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of some other. Is there any other visions?
That's also the same one where he sees Dagobah and also has a conversation with Darth Bane, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that episode. Trying to think if there are any other prescient visions, because like there are some times where it shows Jedi meditating and stuff, but it's unclear if it's like just sensitivity that leads them to the right thing, or do they see the right thing?
Most of these, the only of these prescient ones, the only ones we actually see what they're seeing are brief glimpses of what Anakin sees in his dreams of Shmi and Padme dying, and then a whole roller coaster of what Rey sees in her vision, and then Yoda's vision there that you're describing.
Yep. But I'm having trouble thinking of any other prescient ones. I've got a couple that are the more metaphysical, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But there's not too much discussion to be had about those. I think it's pretty straightforward, right?
There is some non-straightforwardness to it. Like you get some of that, like the classic Oedipal prophecy problem, where it's just like, you meet your path on the road you take to avoid it, sort of thing, which is basically what happens with Padme. Is Anakin's trying to save her life, but the only reason her life is ever in danger at all is because of his choice to turn to the dark side.
Yeah.
So, prophecies in Star Wars, as in Greek myth, are dangerous things to try and avert or follow. Like they will happen no matter what you do. And except when they don't, because we also know that prescient visions of the future can be unreliable. We know that the Jedi were having trouble seeing the future during the time of the prequel trilogy, and we also know that Palpatine clearly was caught off guard by the whole Luke killing him thing.
Canon insert, because we finished reading Master and Apprentice recently.
Yeah. Fact check us, Steven.
The whole Jedi not seeing visions, it's actually because they walked away from it instead of they just weren't able to anymore. Apparently they were old Jedi mystics, but the way they put it is that a study of the future or visions is an attempt to exert control over it, which is roundabout away a dark side thing. So they stopped trying to do that. They let the mystics, record their holocron and kind of stash it away in the Jedi archives.
Huh.
And Dooku and Qui-Gon were the only ones to really ever study it.
Where did we see this? Is this in the Qui-Gon
Master and Apprentice? Yeah.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Haven't read that one yet.
Yeah, it's a good one. Well, I know.
It's on my list. Slowly working my way through my backlog of trade paperbacks. Oh, that's so many.
So continue.
But we have that, but then, as far as glimpses of the past and present, we've never had any indication that the Force could give incorrect information there, as far as I know. Everything that Rey saw in her vision, as far as we know, is something that actually happened.
Well, but Palpatine's fork, seeing both sides of that vision.
Yeah, but that's the future. I'm talking like past and present.
Past.
Oh, yeah.
The Force seems to be pretty reliable, dark side or light side.
Yeah.
I can't think of any time that anyone got false information.
I guess from the comics, there's Vader's visions of the past as well when he goes into his castle.
I was going to include those in the metaphysical, dark side ones, because they are very
straddles the line. Like there is some definite past.
Yeah,
stuff,
they're vague enough for Ross to still persist in his delusion that this isn't a thing that Palpatine did, creating.
No, I've accepted it.
Oh, hey,
forcefully, I've accepted it.
Forcefully.
I don't. I don't like it, but I accept it.
Well, good for you, Ross. Way to be the bigger man. But I would never have done that. No, I might have. I accept that Jar Jar exists.
There we go.
Just rewatched an episode of Clone Wars, or just watched an episode of Clone Wars where Jar Jar showed up out of nowhere again. It's just like, yeah, that is a choice that people kept making. Just we're gonna keep bringing them back. Yeah. Although I did love the moment. I'll toss this in here. It was in the episode where was a flashback episode in season 3 where they send Bail Organa to negotiate with the Toydarians to the supply lines. This was the name of the episode. And I did love the moment where they're just like, and it's like, no, you're the closest one. We need you to divert there. It's like, and he's like, but wait, wasn't there a mission there? Like, it's like, yeah, we've got a representative from Naboo there, but we want someone with more experience. And he's just like, are you kidding me? Padme knows what she's doing. And they're like, no, Senator Amidala's over here. It's Representative Binks there.
Yeah.
And just the
Oh no.
the implied oh. Yeah, I'll go help.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I appreciate this in-universe acknowledgement of Jar Jar's ineptitude. It does beg the question, why is Jar Jar still here?
Yeah.
But okay.
Why not one of the bosses as a representative? You know, that would have made way more sense.
No,
but-
here, I've got this one. I'm sure it's the bosses were so annoyed, they also don't want to do the senatorial thing because they still have their Naboo prejudices. So
Kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah,
Exactly.
I buy that.
Wow. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Although the part of that episode that I bought the least was where Jar Jar's doing his like juggling plates and cups and stuff and builds this tower thing, and I was like, I'm sorry. Jar Jar Binks, who was banished for being clumsy, can juggle plates and cups and build towers out of them by tossing plates and cups into the air without it all coming crashing down immediately. Like, I am sorry, Dave Filoni. No.
Disbelief unsuspended.
Yes. Anyway,
yeah.
back to our Force visions.
So, is that all we want to say about the
Yeah,
prescient ones?
I find it interesting. You know, I kind of wonder. The main thing I wonder is what causes what causes someone to receive these visions. You know, I mean, we don't really have an answer. I'm just curious. Like, why Anakin? Why does Anakin get these? Is it because he's kind of tiptoeing
It
towards
does
the dark
seem
side?
to be that you have to be a Force user.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
So,
we didn't talk about another one in The Last Jedi.
what?
I guess it would be prescient. It would be the vision that Snoke gives to Rey and Kylo of their futures. Would that be a vision, or was that his
Oh,
manufacturing?
that's a good question. Yeah, they both did see. I don't know if that was him manufacturing anything so much as this is them each seeing one they're each seeing the splintering path that they want to see there.
Yeah.
That is a good question. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
because
I
that's
don't know.
prescient, and it's definitely along the lines of Palpatine's glimpse of like, okay, this can
Because
go
the
either way.
Force seems to generate the visions when you tap into it or
Yeah.
whatever on its own.
And actually, it kind of goes back to that Freddie Prinze Jr. video where it's the Force actually trying to keep the balance, right? It's giving you the information
But
you
with
need.
that example, though, where
succeed.
Snoke is intentionally making the connection in the first place,
Yeah.
they're not reaching out to the Force necessarily, in that moment.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
and Snoke is like, here, let me force you into this Skype call.
Could it be something that
don't know.
Snoke pulling them in touches them or connects them to the Force so much that they just get those visions?
Maybe, but
it
I
wasn't
think it's
Snoke,
I
or-
think it's probably equally likely that it's just I'm going to plant the idea. And then they just kind of run with it. Or Rey's like, no, I really can redeem him.
I could see this just wholly being the Force showing like there are two branching possibilities here. Like Ben totally could have gone to the light side with her there. He did not. She could have gone to the dark side, and what we ended up with was
And-
neither of those.
Well, and there's also the Ben sees Rey's parents,
yes,
so
that's
he
true.
sees
He's seen
the,
some
the
of her
past
past.
through it. So did Snoke? Look
But here's
that
the
up?
thing:
Did
she's
he-
also seen some of his past in her vision in Force Awakens.
Does she?
Yeah, she sees it, her that. So that let's just go right into Rey's vision in Force Awakens real quick,
Yeah.
because that one we there's some meat to work with. There was a ton of speculation about what all that meant, and I think it's mainly what I think mainly was
that's
happening
right.
there is just
I remember
JJ
you
making
talking
the
about.
choice to, you know what, instead of glossing over the Force vision with just Han, Leia, collapse.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them being tortured. We're gonna actually show what she saw there. And show you why Force visions are susceptible, like why they're hard to interpret, because this shiz is jacked up. Like, it's weird. But basically everything she sees there is centered around her and Luke and Kylo. Like this triumvirate, this balancing act of what's going on here. And so she sees a glimpse of the first thing she sees is Cloud City down in the corridors where Luke fought.
Luke fought Vader.
And she hears Luke screaming, "No, that's not true," or whatever. It's like she hears his screams there, and apparently in a cut version that was actually that they actually had plotted out, but they didn't end up doing. She also saw Luke lose his hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then you cut from there. Rocks fall, collapses, and she looks up and sees. I just watched this last night, so it's not like I just have this memorized normally. She sees the hooded Luke putting his robo hand on R2 with the temple burning in the background, and then that switches to the guy just gets stabbed through with a red lightsaber just behind her. She turns and it's raining, and there's Kylo and the Knights of Ren, and Kylo turns towards her, starts walking that way, and then she hears the screaming of herself as a child, which was what she heard in the first place that lured her down to the lightsaber. So she sees herself crying out for her parents, sees the ship flying off and causing huge amounts of fan theories, and
more so with this last installment.
With the trailer that came out, and then so she sees herself crying there, and then I believe that's where the vision ends. Like she stumbles back and lands in the corridor of Maz's castle again. And so everything she sees, that she sees a glimpse of her past, she sees Kylo's past and Luke's past and more of Luke's past, and
then her past.
And that's right. She also sees a glimpse of what's coming. She sees a glimpse of Kylo and her in the. She sees Kylo in the forest, in the snow at the end of the movie. He is wearing his mask, so it's not 100% accurate to what happened there. Interesting there.
Yeah.
But his lightsaber lashes out at her from there, and that's when she stumbles back, and that's the end of the vision. So I think the whole point of that vision, I think, is just basically you three are connected. Like the Force wants these three interacting. This is the import, and she's seeing the people who are going to be most central to her development. Like you hear Obi-Wan say Rey as she goes into the forest there, and then as she falls back into the corridor, you hear him say, "These are your first steps." Like, Rey, these are your first steps. And I think that's basically that's little line from Obi-Wan, for whatever reason there, is the summation of what that vision is like, hey, here's what's important to you. Kylo Ren, Luke Skywalker, all of this bundles together. This is what's important to you. This is your first steps here, is understanding all this.
So,
which is why the next movie then picks up with, hey, let's have you understand all this. Here's your own past. Here's Kylo's past. Here's Luke's past. This is the first step, is understanding all of this. Huh, it's almost like these people planned this out together.
You just answered my question. Now I'm about to ask. Good job.
That was really well thought out, and I don't want to admit it.
And he
Curse
came
you,
up with
Chris.
this just now.
No, I thought most of that up last night, but I actually read an article that it wasn't even all me. Thank you though. But yeah, no, so I mean, there's I can see why people still want to speculate on a lot of that. I'm personally curious why they chose Obi-Wan to say that line. Like it's obviously not Alec Guinness. I don't know if they got Ewan McGregor.
It is.
Saying Rey?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's a
Wait.
clipped part of another word. I can't remember what it is. Afraid.
Yeah.
Afraid. Oh, that's awesome.
So
That is so awesome.
They clipped that out for that. Yeah.
And then they got Ewan McGregor to record the last part.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and then they
it's both of
blended
them,
their voices together.
Thank you,
Yep.
gentlemen. That's cool. I am intrigued why. Like, obviously, I can see why that led to a lot of speculation of, oh, she's a Kenobi. Obviously, I do not agree with that assessment.
I don't think it. Yeah, I don't agree with that either, and I don't think it has to be any more complicated than Obi-Wan is one of the greatest Jedi Masters ever, who mastered remaining independent after death.
Yep.
And he has a vested interest in making sure that the dark side doesn't take over, so why wouldn't he be like, oh, here's
a vested interest in making sure the dark side doesn't take over, and also a vested interest in making sure that, hey, someone goes and helps Luke.
Yeah, you know, so it's like, I could see him from the afterlife being like, oh, yeah, this Rey would be a good candidate. Hey, Rey.
It's like, this this Rey is clearly the candidate that the Force has chosen, so let's move on with that.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that.
I agree.
Then he's just there doing his part.
But yeah, I do think there's especially with Rey's whole arc in these first two movies is moving past her desire to, like, in the first one she's waiting for her parents. She's like, no, they're gonna come back. She still dresses. We see in that flashback, she is literally dressing exactly the same way she did as a little girl. It's just a larger version of the exact same outfit with her hair done the exact same way. She's dressing the exact same way so that her parents will recognize her when they come back for her, which is obviously never going to happen. Yep. And she can't let go of that. She's constantly diverting from her destiny to go, wait, no, the past. I gotta hold on to this. Mm-hmm. And so this vision is going like, okay, look, this is what you're focused on. This is what they're focused on. Kylo Ren is focused on, and Luke are focused on the destruction of this and the loss of this. And of the temple, and losing each other, even like for lack of a better way to put it, but just, and so all of this is where you need to be focused, and this is what you are focusing on, and what you all need to get past, kind of like these are your first steps, is moving past this. And I feel like that's like I totally get all the speculation around that right after that movie came out, and for a long time after. I kind of feel like Last Jedi did a good job of saying, here's what that was about, and now we can move on. I could see there being more stuff hidden in there that's like, oh, I see, that's why that was significant. But I mean, I'm not really sold on that until it actually happens. Like, but you know, I wouldn't necessarily put 100% of my eggs in that basket, but like, I could spare an egg for that basket, for that possibility.
Make him a good omelet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love that vision, though. I really like rewatching
really cool.
that last night. I was just like, oh, this is, even if it is just that JJ was like, why don't we ever show these? Like, we get like a tiny glimpse of Anakin's in the film. Let's just show what she sees. And I thought they did a good job of making that confusing as hell. And just like,
The visual effects department had a great time.
oh yeah, absolutely. I love the Cloud City corridor collapsing into rocks, and then
the spin on the way in. I always loved that one.
That's great.
But
It is very visually pleasing, if nothing else. But yeah.
So should we go chronologically, or should we move on to which next? What do we want to talk about next?
So Rey's vision, as we've talked about, right, is kind of a blend of the prescient, but also
the past,
metaphysical and stuff. You know, the past. You know, so like what? I guess we also kind of talked about the deeper meaning behind it, right? That she needs to.
I mean, what I feel the deeper meaning is, and what other people.
Well, and
have felt
I think that's about right too, and especially, let's talk about Rey's vision in 8, because I think that
let's talk about hers and Luke's together, because these very heavily mirror each other. Like they're
Luke's from episode 5.
Luke's from episode 5, right? We're on Dagobah. Luke, senses the dark side over there. Something's going on, and Yoda's like, "Yes, powerful in the dark side." That place.
And I love Yoda's line that he's like, what's in the cave? Only what you take with you.
Yeah,
your weapons, you won't need them.
He takes his weapons with him anyway.
Well, he does. Yeah, it's really interesting that these. I just like that line. I think it sets the tone for Force visions. That your Force visions, it's about you and what's going on with you.
Well, and particularly, I think with both of these, it's like these aren't just your average Force visions. This is the dark side of the Force.
True.
Like, there's a reason these both happen in these nexi of the dark side. Is that these are both based around their fears and the darkest parts of their lives that are coming up. Like, fear is the first step to the dark side. We got this established in the prequels, like that. So both of these are the dark side going, here's your fears, kind of in the hope that this will drag you over here. And that's why Yoda's so tense outside there, as he's sitting there like, okay, I literally did not want to teach this kid because I was concerned that he did not have the discipline and control to do this, and he wasn't going to be afraid, and I was like, that's bull, you're gonna be, and here we go, and I'm not confident he can handle this. And
and it's great too. I mean, and it's interesting, Luke's greatest fear is becoming Darth Vader.
Because he knows that's possible, It's like, this is exactly what Yoda was worried about.
Which is interesting, because at that point in time, he does not yet know that Vader is his father.
Yeah.
See, and this is interesting, too, because it's like, I like the double-edgedness of that vision, where it's like, yes, this is a metaphor for your fears of becoming Vader, but this is also a very literal representation of what has happened and what you're about to find out, that
you are kind of already Vader.
Yes, Vader is a Skywalker. He is, And
so good.
I like the double-pronged,
I remember as a kid not being smart and not getting what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wait, so Vader is, on this planet with him, and he, cut him off? But then, so Luke is Vader? Is that, a...
Where did Vader come from? How did he get here?
How did he find Yoda?
Why is his lightsaber the wrong color?
Yeah.
In my TV copy, his lightsaber was yellow in that scene or something.
Really?
Vader's was, it was weird. I don't know if it was a recording fluke or what, but yeah.
But as a kid, I was very confused at what actual for real Vader was doing, hiding out in like tree trunks,
Yeah.
fighting Luke and then losing, and then somehow he's back on. But it was
and
I
then
was
having
confused as a
someone's
child.
face that I couldn't even quite identify as Luke's.
Yeah, good times.
So that's Luke's vision, and then we get Rey's vision, where she falls down the hole. Apparently has learned to swim at some point in her life, inexplicably. And I'm like, I don't know if they had like a community pool at Nema
Outpost.
at Nema Outpost or what, but
She had to swim through old coolant tanks.
sure, I'd buy that. Like,
Wow.
cool. Like,
How is
that sounds
she
disgusting.
still alive? Like,
Yeah.
isn't they gonna like eat
Maybe
your
maybe
flesh?
maybe there
You
were
know?
water reservoirs on the ship, so like, here's our drinking water, bathing water, etc.
You would think that would
That
be
probably would have
like-
dried up at that point.
dried up or made it like a hub of.
Or been taken by that.
yeah.
She
okay, so that
used the
theory's
force.
out.
She used the force swim ability, guys. Okay,
Yeah, new force ability, force swim. I love it.
or she just got really dumb lucky. I'm gonna go with that for now.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. But so yeah, she climbs out of the water. She's got like this ice mirror in front of her. It seems icy to me.
It does. It looks
Yeah.
kind of like ice.
And there's definitely frost that creeps over it at the end of the vision.
Yeah.
So I'd say, so she walks up, touches that, and then we see this endless repetition of reflections of Rey.
Yeah.
And she,
Can I just say how excited I am for your interpretation of this as a writer and all this kind of stuff?
it's yeah. Let's go. Okay, so we see her looking back and forth each way. We see that each of these rays mimics the one behind or in front of her,
Ray
depending on
Prime.
which way she's depending on which way she's facing, is slightly out of sync.
It's a timeline. It's an animation timeline.
Yeah.
She isn't physically moving, but she is moving in time, and she can see the past and present
Yeah.
and future
Yep, exactly.
rays.
You're blowing my mind, Ross.
It's yeah.
Well,
I
only
would
know
never
that
have
because
described
I've
it that
seen-
way. Thank you. I love
I've seen
it.
similar effects in animation classes, right? Because you get each frame, and so she's just each frame.
Well, and it's
happening
very
all at
much in
once.
sync with how you see like a tesseract depicted in a lot of media, where it's just like, yeah, here you can just see past, present, and future all at once, and that's she's stuck in a tesseract basically, and
Wait, isn't that like a power crystal or something?
that is
for
also the name of a
Infinity?
power crystal.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, got it.
named after the
stuck in
science
Thor's
fictional
hammer or
idea
whatever.
of a fourth dimensional device that we can create to look and move through time and space.
There we go.
Which is why it's the space gem. But
Boy, the nerdy content you guys come here for. We hope you like it.
then we start getting her voiceover of her explaining to Kylo Ren of what she was feeling at the time, where it's like she should have been nervous, but she wasn't, because she knew it didn't go on forever, and that they would come to an end. We move along the line. She starts moving, but she never actually moves. We move along the line to the other end of where we get the same mirror as before, and she's touching it. She's basically asking to show me what I've come to see. She wants to see who her parents are. She wants to find her family, and instead she sees these two shadowy figures, and they merge into one. And once the frost clears, it's just her looking out, and then we see her back outside the mirror there on that side. And so basically, what this is again is Rey's fear. Her greatest fear is not being significant, being alone in the universe. Basically, she has been alone for ages. She's been obsessively waiting for her family to come back, and they haven't. And she knows that they're never going to. She knows that deep inside. That's what she's afraid of. We just get this timeline of, here is every Rey throughout all time, and it is just Rey. There is no one else. There is nothing else. She gets to the end and is like, no, there's going to be something up ahead where I get to see, I get my family back, and no, it's just her. This is her greatest fear playing out right here. Just like Luke had with his fear of becoming Vader.
I think Rey's is more sad and
It
scary.
is. Well, and I think
Luke's.
it's important for Rey that it did go that way,
It is, yeah.
because you can see that the dark side only offered her emptiness.
Yeah.
Right? She says, the dark side has just given her this vision, and she says, I've never felt more alone, which is the last thing that she
Well,
wants.
and I would also argue that this is the dark side trying to push her towards the dark side, trying to push her towards the one person who is going to reach out their hand and say, you don't have
is
to
true.
be alone.
That is true.
Is Kylo Ren, the very person she goes to talk about this vision. Like, This is the dark side pushing her towards the person who's going to invite her to the dark
Yeah,
side.
so if you don't choose the dark side, this is your future, right?
Yeah,
You'll be,
basically. You will be alone forever, which is bull, obviously. But she will be adrift from familial ties, arguably. That's what she's concerned with. So, as I was thinking about this, so there's a theory that's been going around the internet lately that I wanted to address when we're discussing
a theory
this.
that's been going around the internet that totally spoils and confirms this thing for episode 9.
So it's been, you've probably seen some reference to it that there's a lot of people that have been arguing that Rey is actually a clone created by Palpatine. And that is the Nega Rey from the trailer that we're seeing is some other clone that's been brought up properly to the dark side.
That theory makes me want to slit my wrists. It's so stupid.
I thought that at first, though.
Stop it, Chris. No.
Okay.
Don't,
well, no. I still don't think it's. I don't think it's accurate. I will preface this saying I don't think that's accurate at all. I was talking about this with my sister, and that was my similar reaction of just like, oh, I hate that theory. And then I was like, well, okay, to be fair, I can understand some of the mindset behind that. Like, yeah, it'd be really cool if we had this metaphorical vision, but also there was a literal meaning behind it. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. But I mean, that's kind of dumb. Like, why would we? Oh wait, no, that's exactly what Luke's vision did.
Yeah. Oh, fetch.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, so we have some precedent. I'm not saying that it's gonna happen. I'm just saying that we do have some precedents for Force Visions doing that. Of here's your metaphorical fear, and also it is symbolic of this discovery that you're going to make in the future. And her being a clone that literally has no family would definitely be within the a tie-in of her fears of being alone
and being one of hundreds.
And being one of hundreds in a line there.
Yeah.
Yes. The main reason there's a couple reasons I don't think it's going to happen for story purposes, but I did have to, after some thought, I had to go, okay, my initial reaction was to go, oh, that's stupid, and now I'm like, okay, I apologize if I said that to someone who felt that this was probably true. It's not, there's definitely some logic here, and there's definitely some precedent established here, it's not an out of left field ridiculous theory. My main reasons for thinking that it's not what's going to happen are why every excuse for Palpatine cloning a bunch of Reys is pretty flimsy. It's all just utter out of left field nonsense of just no, Palpatine, she is a gender flipped version of Palpatine, or oh no, Palpatine had a daughter and then has been cloning multiple versions of her trying to make more, or so he could have a vessel to jump into, and this one clone somehow got away, but then however it got away or whoever got it away didn't care enough about it to actually do anything meaningful with the clone, and so just dumped it on some backwater it doesn't hold up for all the same reasons that all the other theories of Rey's parentage don't hold. It does hold up slightly better in the, well, why would someone dump her there? It's well, if they're not actually her family, if she's just some random clone, okay, that holds up slightly better. But again, it's if she's some random clone, how did she end up slipping from Palpatine's grasp? Yeah. Why does she have no memory of this? And if whoever helped her get out or whatever, why did they just dump her onto, it's pretty flimsy, even so when you look at it. It's not illogical, but within the confines of, we've told 2/3 of this story and we only have a third left. Yeah. There's just too much legwork to do there, especially with all the other legwork we already know they have to do in episode 9. The amount of explanation and hoop jumping that you would have to do to establish that this is where Rey came from is just, it's not enough. There's not enough space to make that a satisfactory conclusion to this, in my opinion. Maybe they could pull it off better than I could. Maybe they could come up with some meaning that behind that being the case that would be. But basically, what this is someone. What I feel like this is someone who gave up on the whole Rey's parents have to be someone important theory. Going, oh, but wait, her parents don't have to be important, but she's still important because of a connection to someone else in the universe. And it's no, the whole point of of them setting up this question of where Rey comes from and then establishing that it's nothing. The whole point is she doesn't have to be anyone in order to be special. If Vader had not been Luke's father, if they'd never decided to go that route, it would not matter that Luke was just some random nobody, son of some random Jedi that died and we never heard of. It wouldn't matter. He would still be important. You don't have to be somebody to be important.
Yep.
And so if we just have an alternate, like, oh, the reveal is that she was important because the bad guys picked her, not because she was the progeny of the good guys, then it's like, that's just doing the same thing again. It's still undermining the point here in the exact same way. And that's why I really don't think they'll go that route.
Yeah.
But I will give props that there is a lot more validity to that theory than my initial gut reaction.
Yeah, I'll concede that. Yeah. But I also hope that she remains a nobody, because I think that's the best message of the sequel trilogy, is that anybody can rise to the challenge. Anybody can stand up and do the right thing.
Message,
you know?
Yes. Anyway, we'll get to that another episode.
All right, which vision's next?
Well, see, and this was what I was going to ask you about, Kyler. So we had Yoda's vision. I guess you've seen it too, Ross, so you can both tell me. I haven't seen it. Yoda's visions that you mentioned earlier from season 6 of the Clone Wars. Are these like dark side style visions? I don't know.
Yeah, it's much closer to Luke's vision than to Rey's, where Rey's is pretty much like there's a lot of her just sort of passively seeing things.
Yeah.
In both Force Awakens and in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Like she's not really doing much interacting with other individuals.
Well, and I think it's part of it is too that idea of what's in there. It's only what you bring with you. Yeah. She didn't go in there on guard like looking for a fight. She went in there wanting to know what it had to tell her.
Yeah, where Luke, quote unquote, actually interacts with Darth Vader. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. In his vision.
He combats him and chops his head off.
Yeah. And then the helmet explodes for no reason. So Yoda's Force vision is a 3-parter, if I'm not mistaken. The first part...
Yoda Force vision's better than other people.
He sure does. He is a grand master.
That's true.
So the first thing is Yoda fighting Nega Yoda. Mm-hmm. Where he... it's literally what Yoda could become if he went to the dark side. It's kind of a Gollum-y, black smoke, evil eyes choking out Yoda. It's pretty crazy. And it's Yoda's... Yoda was also warned before going in by these Force creatures to maintain control of your emotions, or else you will get lost. Don't show like excitement or fear. Yeah. Don't show happiness or sadness. Like just
or else Ko will steal your face.
Yes, pretty much. And so to just be neutral, right? To have that perfect balance. You're neither here nor there. So he goes in and he starts to become afraid of this Nega Yoda that's choking him and all this kind of stuff. And then he remembers, like, okay, don't be afraid. And he's like, wait a minute, yeah, this isn't real. This is a vision. This is who I would become, or if I went to the dark side, but I already made that choice long ago, that I'm not going to do those things that lead to the dark side. So you actually don't have any power over me. Never mind. Okay, so I'm good. And then he dismisses the evil Yoda, which great message, by the way, of just predetermining what you're going to do in situations.
Get thee behind me, Nega Yoda.
Yes, exactly. Then the next vision, maybe it is only 2 parts. I thought it was 3, but because then he goes, and that's when he talks to Darth Bane. Is after that, and Darth Bane, voiced by Mark Hamill.
Nice.
So good. And he's got this really cool, like, samurai-looking armor and stuff. And he's like a smoke monster, kind of like the Balrog, basically. So he's got, like, glowing, burny eyes and embers falling off of him and stuff. And they just have a conversation. And he's like, hey, let me show you what's coming, what this war has in store for the galaxy. And that's when Bane shows the parts from episode 3, Order 66, Shakti getting killed at the beginning of the movie, all kinds of stuff. And Yoda's like, what is this, what's this all about? Like, clearly your dark side is deception. He's like, no, this is stuff that's already in progress. You just don't know it yet. Then they continue to kind of talk about the Force and inevitability, and I think Yoda basically, like, I can't remember the exact words, but Yoda basically just sums it up like, well, the future isn't written yet, so good people can still make good choices and make things better. So the dark side hasn't won yet.
That's fair. I could see that as showing him his fears. Like, it starts with a more traditional, like, oh, you could be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, but it's also this, like, basically what Bane's showing him is, hey, remember your concerns throughout this trilogy about the Chosen One and how you shouldn't train him? turns out that was well-founded.
Yeah.
Like,
You were spot on there. Yeah.
which is actually one of the writing problems with the prequels, is that, like, in the first one, Yoda's the one who's like, we should not be training this kid. Like, everybody else votes to allow Obi-Wan to train him, and Yoda is the one abstaining vote. But then in the next movie, you have Mace Windu and Obi-Wan and Yoda all discussing Anakin and the Chosen One, and Yoda's the one going, well, we got to trust in the prophecy. He is the Chosen One. And while Obi-Wan's like, oh, I don't know about this. But then in the third one, Mace Windu's all like, I don't know if we can trust in this. And Obi-Wan's all, well, he is the Chosen One, Master. Like, and it flip-flops. They're not consistent on who feels what way. And so, but I would argue that the initial one was Yoda, and that it should have been Yoda throughout the whole trilogy, and that would fit somewhat with his.
Yeah. Another one from the Clone Wars. Oh, do we have anything more to say about that?
I don't. I haven't seen it. So
Yeah. And this one is stretching it a little bit, but I think it fits thematically. What is it? It's like, I think it's the Ghosts of Mortis or something like that is what it's called. No, or is that from Rebels? It might be from Rebels. Anyway, but it's the one where where Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka go to, like, the Force planet that's inside the giant holocron that's, like, totally separate from time and space. It's like its whole other dimension kind of a thing. And there's the father and the son and the daughter, who represent
The Force.
the Force. The daughter's the good side, the son's the dark side, and the father is the balance between them. So even though this appears to be a physical, actual place that exists in the real world, everything that happens inside feels like a Force vision.
Yeah.
You know, the plants go through an entire year's cycle every day, where it's spring in the morning, summer by the afternoon, nighttime comes and it's fall, and then or dusk comes and it's fall, and then it's winter in the nighttime. You know, and everything is dead.
yeah,
And then it just, so you have all this kind of weird, really weird metaphysical stuff, and then there's the blatant representation of light and dark, and that the sister and the father both complain that the sun has been growing stronger, the dark side's growing, which is why the galaxy is in turmoil, because the sun here in this little pocket dimension is getting uppity and more powerful. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then, like, it's weird, though, because then the daughter ends up dying, sacrificing herself to save her father. So then, like, is the light side of the Force extinguished in the galaxy then?
Well, and then you have dark side and balance remaining. I mean, that
Yeah,
doesn't-
that is weird.
that's what I'm saying. Like, this one is like a little bit of a stretch in a lot of ways, but it's weird enough that I think it kind of
yeah. There
counts as
definitely
Force
is a
vision,
heavy, it's heavily metaphorical. Like,
Yeah, and they talk about Anakin as well being the chosen one that is going to restore balance, and like he almost kills the sun. So it's like, so why would the dark side have then like evaporated across the galaxy, or so? Like, what? What's going on here? Oh, I don't know.
yeah.
But Ross, you've seen that episode, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's
And that's like season 4 or something like that, Chris. So you're getting close.
even with
I'm like 4 episodes into season 3, but my
even
son
with
is a lot more gung ho about Clone Wars at this point, though, so we'll probably get through it a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Nice, good on him.
Even with the light side aspect, the daughter dying, she doesn't really die. She just kind of becomes that owl-y thing,
Yeah.
which we also again see later with Ahsoka in Rebels.
Yep.
That's when Ahsoka got killed and became an owl. Yeah.
No, she was killed by an owl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Court of Owls. Right.
Yeah. And then Harry Potter came. I don't know, because it is... I'm not sure... I get more confused about the meaning of that whole episode than I did with Luke's cave vision in Empire.
That episode is one that I think is a little bit better to be like, just take the really superficial meanings we've thrown out and then don't look any closer.
Yeah. It's also tricky. It's one of those tricky things anytime you get this, like, mass-produced more and more, we're adding in more and more people writing these things. It's like, well, some people have varying ideas about what the Force is, how the Force works, what everything is, how metaphor works. Some people are better at using metaphor than others.
I think what we'll need to do is, after Chris has seen it, revisit this particular episode.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, make a nerve nugget.
Yeah.
But maybe when we're doing arc episodes of discussing Clone Wars, when we hit that one,
yeah.
we'll be like, yeah, let's discuss that here.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Because that one you could also... Would you link it into Rebels? Because those themes also
We
pop
could.
up.
Oh, and that... Thank you, Ross. You reminded me of another one. So there's an episode of Rebels, the episode that actually saves Ahsoka's life. That's another one where it's like... Ezra's clearly in a physical place that actually exists in the universe somehow, but it is super wonky and metaphysical just in its very existence. Like, Ezra goes into a Jedi temple, like, goes through this portal and finds himself...
Well, and before we get too far, the portal is activated by manipulating a mural of the 3 in the Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was that Easter egg. Yeah, exactly. So he goes into this almost focal point nexus, whatever you want to call it, of like the Force, and he can look through different arches and see different points in time, literally, like that they've experienced. And Ahsoka's in one of them, about to get killed by Darth Vader, and he literally reaches through, pulls her into the nexus, saving her from Darth Vader, and then they leave through a different way, traveling across time and space.
Really tesseracting here.
Yes. So it's like, but and Yoda is like helping guide him a little bit through that episode. So like there is some.
But again, also the owl. That's where you see the owl again.
Yeah, also
and
there.
Ahsoka even mentions she knows the owl, and it's appeared to her several times or something like that.
Yeah.
She said it's helped her.
So that is another weird one.
Like in Legend of Zelda.
Yes, exactly.
It's the Force Sage.
And then you get the Loth Wolves that can use the Force and, like, can teleport.
Every time you reference the Loth Wolves, I think of Lolth, the spider goddess
queen
of the Drow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I always have this moment of spider wolves. Okay.
That would be freaking sweet. They did have weird spiders, though, in Rebels, Chris. They had these weird, like,
really tall
10-legged,
spiders.
and they were really tall. With eyes all the way around. Yeah,
it's gross. Spider turrets.
Yep, pretty much.
Anyway.
Yep. They reminded me of like when you're in like middle school and you're like in middle school like science class or whatever, and they're showing you like what a virus looks like when it's attacking a cell. They look like
actually
that.
Yeah, basically.
Interesting.
And they don't like what did they use? It was like little frequency jammer thingies. Anyway. Whatever. I'm derailed.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are the Force visions.
Those are the Force
Let us know if we
visions.
forgot any visions, or if we forgot to mention something we should have.
Best to talk about meanings. Let us know what you think the different meanings are. If there's something we missed or whatever. If you guys want to discuss this, I'm sure Lindsay would be happy after a year if she remembers, which she should hopefully, because I've mentioned it, and this episode is now a thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm done with this episode. Yeah. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, @MoreCivilized. I try to post fun Star Wars stuff there and share funny memes.
As
there
do
are some
many
good
of our
ones. Yeah, that's true. And join the Facebook group, A More Civilized Podcast, where a whole host of memes are regularly shared because you people are awesome. And Neil, good job on harassing Brad. He reported back to me.
I saw that.
And I've seen a jump in our Texas download, so I know he's on it.
Speaking of the group, that's where we get this week's favorite listener.
Hey!
Another repeat
Offender?
of the... Yeah, offender, basically. Because it's Mr. Stephen Boswell again.
Hey!
Who, during the course of this recording, made a post on Facebook that has me concerned.
Uh-oh.
He writes, "Evil machinations for our 3 podcast hosts have been put into motion this day."
Okay. I literally have no idea what's going on, but he asked me something about Chris the other day, and I was like, I can't even remember what he asked me, but he was like, hey, what does like Chris think of like something, or ask me like what your favorite color was? I can't remember what it was.
It would be a lot easier to speculate on this if you knew what he'd actually asked.
I know, but I can't remember. But anyway, he asked me something, and I'm like, I told him whatever I thought it was. I'm like, what's this for? He's like, oh, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay.
I'm a big fan of evil machinations.
And now I'm worried about it. But yeah, so I'm concerned. How devious can Steven be?
Me.
Do we want my real opinion or should we flattering?
We can talk about it.
Is it flattering to be devious or to not be devious?
I think he would try his real hardest to be devious, but Stephen isn't a terribly devious person by nature.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair enough. You can talk with me on Twitter at Mr_Rstar.
Yes. I am also on Twitter at Itinerant Baxter. You can let us know on Twitter or on Facebook if there are any topics that you would like to hear, maybe even within the next year if we get around to it. And if there's any place you want to find the podcast that you haven't been able to, or that someone you know hasn't been able to find it and would like to find it, let us know.
Yep.
And again, may the force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to a more civilized podcast.
Which, by the way, in the outro last episode, did you hear the sound clip I had of you? It was a little bit tough to hear.
Oh.
I think I even repeated it a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I did hear that one.
What was it?
It was you saying, I hear the newsy news.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you ran it like 5 times. I was like, curse you, Ross!
Exactly. That was meant as a warning to you, sir. Unlimited power.
Yeah, what we really need is a remix of all this, and just like Kylie just sitting there, I hear the newsy news, I hear the newsy news.
Anyway.
Here, I'm gonna... You can cut it if you want.
Actually, I thought that was fine. It was still enough
All right, fair enough.
on topic. But
Well, now cut this then.
I will cut it because of that clap.
And then cut this. And then
And
cut
this.
that.
And maybe
then
this.
Some of this. A little bit of that.
Yep.
Giving Ross lots of fodder for the end. Outro.
Thanks for making me sit and listen through all of that so I can find the end.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
I didn't choose the pug life. Pug life chose me.
That's right.
Only in this case, you really did choose the
choose
pug
Yeah, we
life.
kind of did choose the pug life. Yeah, you're right.
It's because Ross is more gangster than either of us. He chose the pug life.
That's right.
Word. Or in
He's the
words-
most gangster of the 3 white Mormon Utah boys. So that's a high bar to clear there.
Yep.
I was going to say, in the words of the pug life.
Exactly. It
Man,
reminds me.
I just died there on that. It wasn't Aphrodite. Was it Artemis that was? No. It was Athena. Ah, there we go. Athena.
Yeah.
They too many A names in the
That's
Greek pantheon.
true. No, it reminds me of a funny meme I saw though. It was in Italian, but it's basically like God is like talking with Adam and Eve, and he's like, "So Adam, this is Eve. You know, like she's gonna be your helper, or whatever." And then the next panel is Adam going, "Yeah, but who's that?" And he's like pointing over his shoulder, and there's the Queen of England, and God just says, "I don't know. She was here when I got here."
Yeah.
Yeah, feels like it. Anyway.
Elizabeth.
Woo.
It's just more of an aside than I think is.
Oh. All right, throw it in the outro. It's a hilarious joke, Ross. I want the people to hear it.
Okay.
Okay. Who has the unlimited power now?
Still Ross.
No, it's still Ross.
And that's the episode, folks. Have a good time.
Night, everybody.